All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to A Million Little Podcast. I'm Kevin. I'm here with Jamie.
What's up?
And Dave Miller, once again, from Chicago. How are you, Dave?
How's it going, America? How's it going, guys?
America, I think, okay. I think I don't know. I feel like maybe I am doing slightly better than America in general. I'll give myself credit for that. Dave, you want to lead us off with the big, and we'll get into the episode, obviously. That's the entire purpose of this podcast. But, Dave, do you want to give us the big show news of the week?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. I'm excited because we're employed next year. We're going to be employed for one more season. Whether or not, this particular show gets canceled in episode 4 or 9 or doesn't get canceled next year, there will be a season 2 of A Million Little Podcast. I was pleasantly surprised that we heard the news a few days ago. It was announced on Twitter, and I saw it on Twitter. I'm sure it was probably on their Instagram
learned from
and Facebook as well. Yeah, that's right. So I'm sure they went all out on the social. And this is just a show that's picking up steam week after week, just based on, I'll do Google searches of Barbara Morgan or a million little things just to see what's out there.
Are you the private eye? Are you the private eye that's been hired? You're Google searching Barbara Morgan out there? Also, if you do want to follow for Dave's breaking news, follow us at A Million Podcast on Twitter. That is literally where I learned that the show was being picked up again.
Too. Dave is such a Joanna. Which is the name of the private eye.
I would not have known that.
Jake's incredible.
I'm incredible.
At A Million Podcast on Twitter, at A Million Little Podcast on Instagram. But yeah, so we found out just like that after the final episode of this season, which comes February 28th, we will be back at some point. Dave, do you know when the show comes back? When season 2 is? I assume fall, but...
Yeah, we don't know that. We know now that networks play with schedules because this is ending in late February. I would find it hard to believe that it would be like a winter premiere.
Right.
I think it's more likely that it would. And plus, the ratings are seemingly fairly strong, so I would assume it would debut in September. And whether or not it goes to May, we'll see. But these shows are ending in late March now, it seems.
Yeah, no one's doing the 22, 24 episode seasons anymore, which is fine, honestly.
Yeah, too much.
Mm-hmm. But Dave, we've got okay. So this I'll just do very quickly the very unimportant, the soundtrack to the show. I think it was just Downtown from Petula Clark. I'm sure other things were played. Petula? Excuse me. Petula Clark. That's
Petulant Clark would be like somebody's roller derby name.
Yeah,
who comes out to Downtown. Downtown is her closer music.
Mm-hmm, be a WWE wrestler who her whole thing is she's 50s themed. And she takes you downtown, and that's how you're done.
Yeah, she does. Actually, I'm warming up to this.
Okay, cool. Dave, or Jamie, either one of you, what's the first thing you want to get into about this episode?
Well, at the top, I just said the good news. There's good news and there's bad news. The bad news is Gina got molested by her uncle. The good news is, according to a commercial, Taco Bell delivers on Grubhub now, you guys.
Okay, so you win some, you lose some. Is basically what that is. Dave,
and that's sort of the bright spot. It was a heavy one, you guys.
It was a heavy episode.
There are bright spots also,
yes.
But
was a heavy episode. Mainly the heavy thing was Gina, and I wrote early on in the episode, I wanted more Gina. I didn't want it like this, but I wrote that before the abusive uncle stuff came out. Dave and I texting during the show, we did call. I assume many of us called that uncle was going to be a perv, right?
Oh, yeah. When did you guys call it?
Right after it happened. Okay, well, Kevin was the first one. He mentioned that he fears the uncle is molesty. And
that is a direct quote.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a direct quote. And I was replying, oh, my God, I thought the same thing. And, yeah, Kevin, you asked about, starting off with a topic. I wrote down simply Gina becomes a fuller character. I was waiting for that all season. We've seen glimpses, not so much in the restaurant, but when she's dealing with Rome's depression, we've seen glimpses. But I think tonight was a big breakthrough for her character.
Yeah, I think, the bright spot is that Gina got to stretch her legs a bit in this one. She kind of got to do all the stuff.
Yeah, Gina. This is the first episode that was really like Gina's episode, I would say, which is great. And she handled that very difficult storyline very well. She's a great actress. She was in the originals.
Yes, she was.
Okay, so obviously
she's finally getting to get her originals level
storylines
shit
drama.
back. Yeah, storylines drama. She played like a girlfriend on the original, so she didn't get to do all the stuff, but she was good. She got some good stuff.
Yeah, and she did a great job there. I will say, I don't think anyone involved in this show has ever worked in a fucking restaurant. I don't think anyone understands how this is. It seemed like such fantasy camp what people think happens in restaurants.
Yeah, I mean, I have never opened a restaurant, so for all I know, this is correct. But it's just like, so hi, here we are in the episode. Regina's opening a restaurant tomorrow. She doesn't have a liquor license or some kind of other certificate that you need. Bartenders, tablecloths, the whole thing. It's like, guys, that cannot be the case. Like, there's plenty of restaurants that open without a liquor license, but they don't open assuming that they will have a liquor license and then don't. I don't think.
Liquor licenses are very difficult to get, and they are very expensive, and Gina is bad at restaurants. Gina is bad at running a restaurant.
Good at acting, bad at restaurants.
Yes, so basically Gina, she's telling the servers the menu and kind of what even exists at the restaurant basically hours before they open, which seems like that's something you should have gotten nailed down. Also, we should say the name of the episode is Someday, which is also the name of the restaurant, is Someday.
Oh, shit. I fully missed that.
I thought I saw you down in your notes. It was a visual reveal. It was on the menu. It said Someday.
I was probably writing down that I was guessing that the uncle molested Regina like the minute he came up.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I think so. I guess they foreshadowed the pervy uncle pretty accurately. But Gina was telling the servers the menu one day before they open. They're hiring bartenders like you'd hire a band, it seemed like. And Dave, you have professionally bartended.
Yeah,
give us insight.
Yeah.
A couple of things, guys. First of all, this is the general Boston area, whether it's downtown Boston or whatever, general downtown area. In Chicago, in the general Chicago area, that stuff would never happen in a 24-hour span. That stuff wouldn't happen in terms of getting licenses. That stuff wouldn't happen in a 72-hour span.
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that for a fact, but it seemed like that would be the case.
Absolutely. We have to take things with a grain of salt. We have to make the leap as TV viewers. I get that. The other thing is I actually was part of an opening because my sports writing career can't be 12 months a year now.
Journalism's dead, so yeah.
Yeah, journalism's dead, so I do have to work in the service industry. I helped open a restaurant this past April, and the only thing we had to worry about day of, we were like taking liquor bottles out of boxes day of course.
Yeah.
But we didn't have to worry about menu. That was all set. So that was overdone. The other thing I want to say, I wrote down, and this is before Gary started probing. We'll get to this in a little bit, but sure. I also wrote Gary 3 exclamation points. But before Gary started probing, I said, I don't like Bar Guy. Bar Guy is Andrew. Andrew, the guy that's putting the moves on Delilah. But I don't like him. And he probably is up to no good. So I'm Team Gary on this one. We'll get to that, I'm sure, later.
Yeah, and the last thing I wanted to say about Gina being bad at restaurants is also she was yelling at her mom about the music choice, and she was like, "You have to ask me about these decisions. It's the fucking night before. Then there just wouldn't be music, Gina. The shit ain't done. You gotta get it together." Yeah,
Gina's mom is not great and worse than I thought.
Yes.
Yeah, well, worse and not because of the ending, but that is like the one thing that she actually did and took initiative, and you should have been like, oh, yes, I did not have music for the restaurant. Thank you.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that one element. You don't get to not do things about your job, and then when someone else does them, get mad because they didn't do it your way. People got to pick it up. Anyway, whatever. That's not the main point of Gina in this. I did work at Olive Garden, so, I know a little bit about restaurants.
With Ryan Sandberg's daughter, or am I completely making that up?
That's a great call, Dave. I was hired the same day at the Anderson, Indiana Olive Garden. When I was in college, I wanted to work at a restaurant because I figured when I would come out to New York, I would have to work in the service industry at the beginning, and I lucked out. I ended up not having to do that out here, but the day I was hired at the Anderson, Indiana Olive Garden, it was myself, and the hostess being hired was named Lindsay Sandberg, and the manager said, "Oh, well, we have two kind of local celebrities being hired today." She said, "Kevin, I hosted a TV show from my college that some people knew about and she had heard about, that the manager had." And then she said, "And Lindsay, your dad." And I said, who's your dad? Knowing her last name was Sandberg. And she goes, "Ryan Sandberg." And I was like, wait, he just got snubbed from the Hall of Fame. It was he didn't make it on the first ballot. And she goes, "Yeah, he's like the best second baseman." Verbatim. And I was like, what the fuck? It's like, this is insane. I'm a huge Cubs fan too, so yeah.
Kevin, this is absolutely incredibly full circle. I swear to God, I've served Ryan Sandberg twice this past summer. Once, he ordered a Bud Light when I was working a beer wall.
I love this gossip.
Yes, when at the restaurant I just mentioned a few minutes ago, and also when he orders cocktails, he was a vodka cran guy.
Love it.
Oh.
I worked in an all-inclusive space, so no money was exchanged. He literally gave me $30 for delivering him 2 vodka.
Yes.
Great Ryan Sandberg news. Boy, I'm going to pull this out on my Cubs podcast, Away Games, at Away Games Pod.
Yeah, I was like, we're doing a crossover now.
Oh, that's great news, Dave. That is, man, restaurant living. That's great.
Yeah.
But the main storyline here was Gina basically revealing that you could tell something was up pretty early.
She finds out. Her mom tells her that the money that her mom gave her for the restaurant actually came from her uncle, and she's immediately very upset about that, which makes you think, probs, this is a creepy uncle. And you are correct. And Gina walks out the night before her restaurant opens and is like, nope, we're giving back all the money, and that's that. And then Maggie has to get it out of her what actually happens.
Yes. And Maggie, one thing I did write down was that I very much like the Rome-Maggie friendship that is developing. I like a good platonic guy-girl friendship.
That's your jam.
I have a lot of those in my life. Jamie and I have been together since we were 20. So, and I've been a lot of girls' girlfriends in my life, I believe. And I enjoy seeing that. And I think Rome and Maggie play it pretty naturally. I think they have a pretty good chemistry. And if you follow these people on Instagram, as we do from our A Million Little Podcast Instagram account, it seems like those two, Allison Miller and Romany Malco, have a good time hanging out together too.
And speaking of Instagram, Christina Show is just having the time of her life. I mean, she's traveling the world.
She is traveling the world. She's in Barcelona right now. Storyline, kayfabe in it. She is. She didn't appear. That is a perfect summation of this podcast and Dave. Christina Ochoa appears 0 times in this episode, but her Instagram does get a shout out, and for very good reason. But I thought it was good. I thought it was cool that Maggie got a little something different to do, being the supportive friend for Gina.
Licensed therapist.
And licensed therapist, yes, exactly. And, prepping her for that, when you talk to your mom, just be aware that she might have experienced this, and that when she faces this, that means this is a real thing about her brother, which
Maggie,
is a big freaking deal.
Maggie comes in handy in getting, supporting Regina in going to meet the guy, and then afterwards when she's freaking out about her mom showing up, giving her in a very nice way the explanations like, this could be why your mom was acting like that,
right? Because
she's not only a terrible person. So there's probably a reason, and it's probably this, and she was right, is that if uncles be molesting, it's probably not just one person. So probably he molested your mom too. And that's just great. And it was just like a really... Oh, Dave's laughing really hard right now.
I just thought of something going on.
Sure.
Bring
go
it. What you got?
I just thought of, do these people work, specifically Gary? I literally have never seen Gary at his office. We saw it, in episode 2.
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, I forget about people even theoretically having jobs in TV at a certain point.
Well, I think in this show, I've just sort of let it go because, yes, obviously, Gary never works. We begin the episode with Eddie being back from tour. So it's hard to tell if the tour was a week long or if some time has passed. It seems that time has passed because Delilah is noticeably pregnant, finally. So it's like, I guess he's been gone. I guess we just skipped over all the parts where he was actually gone from these people's lives.
Eddie's job is the only job that infuriates me because he's not touring. They have a bus so he can tour Boston. That is it. They just play a party bus. That's his whole tour.
Circle his house, and that's pretty much it. But yes, none of these people have jobs, and at this point, it's fine. It's like, I know they're not going to have jobs, and I'm not even mad at it at this point.
Right.
And we do find out at the beginning, I just want to make sure we mention that casually, Gina drops to her mom when she criticizes the menu that she could ask Delilah, because Delilah spent 26 years of her life in France. And I like that ever since we called her out on being French, she gets incrementally more French, like every few episodes.
Nash is listening.
Yeah,
so
they are.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think somebody heard that, and they were like, they know, guys.
I know.
We have to cop to her being French. We have to write it in.
Episode 2 or 3 is when we went hard on it, and then she came out as French, right? A big coming out as French. Mom, Dad, I'm French. Yeah,
oh
exactly.
God! What if you had a kid that came out to you as French?
Oh man, I'd be like, I should have known. I'm, I'm 1/16 French myself.
It's true.
So it's
in the genes.
Yeah, there's a shot. But yeah, I wrote down when it's 26 years, spent 26 years of her life in France. I wrote down seems low. A little more than that, but. Yes, she's been progressively Frencher as we go, but I do think with the Gina thing, and before we move on to all the other all the other things, Gina, it was played in a more nuanced way than I thought it was, than I thought it would be.
They waited till the last possible moment to actually have her tell someone.
And even having the way she detailed it was not as straightforward as I thought it would be on TV, where she said she was sad and that he asked her to take her shirt off, and she did, but she didn't even tell it in that order. She flipped it. She said she which I think psychologically, whether they meant it to be this way or not, already she was leading with blaming herself. So that I took my shirt off. He did ask me that. Like, even leading with that, I thought was, well, that's more complicated. More complicated sounding thing. Yeah,
it was like a show don't tell of she blames herself,
right?
Because she's sort of almost defending him in the way that she tells the story, even before she literally is like blaming herself, which is it's complicated. And then she goes to the hospital to make him understand that he molested her, make sure he knows it, and look him in the eye. And then whoops, Neil dead. And
Swift justice,
except for the fact that it's like, oh good, now Regina gets to live the rest of her life knowing that probably Neil thinks that the money thing absolved him the incestual preteen sexual assault thing. Yeah. Which was just like, oh man, if I was her, I would have been punching a wall.
Right. Revive him. But give him the paddles just so we can kill him again.
Yeah, get the smelling salts. I just need to tell him one quick thing before he goes on dates with Bill Cosby in hell for the rest of eternity.
That'll be the next show we pitch. Yeah, dating Cosby in hell. Yeah. But I think that I think that's it. And in Rome, I thought the way he approached when she was in the room, he did not know what was going on yet, though. Mm-hmm. He very much nailed the guy approaching a girl, or I guess anybody, but guy approaching a girl when he's trying to be supportive, but also doesn't know what the fuck's going on. So it's a kind of very hesitant, but I think I should keep moving forward. I don't know what to say.
Right.
Kind of thing.
So yes, seems like we definitely need to get to the bottom of this. You don't want to, but you kind of maybe do want to.
Yeah, well-meaning but unsure. I thought he nailed that.
Yeah, it was very good that we got a cute scene in the hospital because they won't tell them what room fucking Neil's in. So Rome distracts the guy at the desk, very cute, and then Maggie hacks into the computer, finds out what room he's in, which it's like in a slightly different situation would be like, hey, he's in room 306, so you can go murder him now. It's like there's a cute version of the scene and like a really sinister one, but
yeah,
joke's on her, he's already dead.
Already dead. God done did it. Yeah, I think Rome he plays a very good, funny, sketchy. Funny, but actually trying, to keep the eye contact on me. Hold with me. He does a very good, he plays that very well. So good on Mr. Malco there.
And then on the way back from all of that, there's a fun downtown sing-along in the car with everyone who's just found out that either they or their friend or their mom has been sexually molested by Neil.
Yeah, I don't know how I felt about the music choice mashup with that. Well, I do know how I felt about it. Weird.
And to me, Downtown is, and I don't know if it's actually that song or a different Petulant Clark one,
yes.
where I think in like Lost in like season 2, the opener, where it's sort of like you see someone getting ready for their day and you find out, spoiler, that they're like in the bunker on the island.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those songs that it's like it's upbeat enough and old that people put it a lot to like a sinister scene in a background because it's like too upbeat.
Right.
And just only about going downtown and having fun and letting go of your cares and like, someone's getting their ear cut off. I know it's not that song,
no,
but it's like, you know what I mean?
But it's like that. It's like Stanley Kubrick stuff. It's, yeah, absolutely, where you play it. Yeah, Dave, did you have something? Sorry, did I catch a signal?
Yeah, no, I kept thinking about George Costanza because of the song Downtown. And then there was another one, and I just lost my train of thought. But obviously the episode where they're singing Downtown.
Yeah.
And then Barbara Morgan does sound like something that would come out of George Costanza's mouth.
That is true. That is a very... It's hard to put a finger on exactly why, but Barbara Morgan is a very Costanza name to say.
Neil! That's what it was, Neil. The name Neil from when George looks like Neil. Remember? And he's like,
no,
do I not? Am I feel like I'm shitting the bed on this one for not remembering it.
Like is Neil. In that one episode?
Okay, damn.
I did not know
I am
that.
blanking on that. And as a comedian, not knowing a Seinfeld episode that is embarrassing.
Yeah.
I should be describing it better, but it's the one where she's like, "Oh no, you're much slimmer than Neil."
Okay, yes, that sounds familiar. Yeah, that is good. That also is what happens whenever people tell you looks like anybody. They tell you that, and then I think they never get the response. You're never like, "Fuck yeah, I do." No one ever says that when you say you look like someone else. So then they take that beat, and then they go, "Well, you're much more handsome."
But a skinny one.
Mm-hmm. Dave, do you ever get anyone? Do people tell you look like anyone?
Dude, people tell me I look like Paul Rudd. I look nothing like Paul Rudd. He's a great-looking guy. I'd like to look like him. I don't see that.
That's an interesting one. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's high praise. Paul Rudd has not aged he's a vampire, so that's great. That's good. Mm-hmm. He hasn't aged since Clueless.
Yeah.
My mom, Kevin, my mom thinks you look a little bit like, and I don't see it, Carson Daly. I don't see it. No, he's a good-looking guy. I
love that we're demonstrating the whole process right here already.
We're doing it in real time.
And then there's another one.
Kevin has brown eyes and Carson Daly has blue eyes.
Oh, okay.
But the coloring otherwise is the same.
I think one thing that happened, because I am a dark-haired man, and I less so by the day, getting grayer by the day, but I also because I am a person who's on TV a pretty good amount, and just a hosty person, I think I think I get more comps than most people, just because they've seen me in the little box, and stuff. So I've gotten that. I used to get Tom Hanks a lot. Got John Cusack back in the day. Basically, a lot of dark-haired dudes. But yeah, that would not be the first Carson Daly I've heard either, even though I also don't necessarily see it. I will take it from your mom as a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
She sees you in suits a lot, like in pictures. And
that's true.
Suits.
That's true. When I'm on TV, I wear more suits on TV than I do in my everyday life. Although I love wearing a suit. I'll wear a suit anytime.
Don't listen. He's in a full suit right now.
Full suit to podcast.
I'm in pajamas and a hoodie. He's cufflinks, ascot,
for the Golden Globe,
top hat.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we're good on the Gina storyline. We covered that.
I believe so. Oh, and she does tell Rome at some point, someday being the title of the episode, and the restaurant, the quote that we got from John before when he calls her the night before he kills himself, or when she calls him after she gets sexually harassed at her job. She says, someday I'll open my own restaurant. He says, you can someday yourself right out of a life.
Yeah.
So that's that connection.
Sure, yeah, that's a big theme.
Just make sure we say it, just in case. Mm-hmm. You're like me and you forgot to know what the restaurant name is.
Yeah, well, it was very quick. You just they just revealed it on the menu, on the top of the menu.
I was too busy congratulating myself on guessing the molesting thing.
Oh yeah, we guessed the molester. Man, they didn't pick up that pilot yet.
Yet.
So I thought Maggie had a good episode subtly too. I thought she was very natural the whole time. Although it was there was some weird wingmanning and wingwomaning in this show because Maggie was basically like about the restaurant guy. What's the character's name? Handsome
Andrew.
restaurant Andrew. Andrew.
Yes.
About Andrew. She was
Andrew Pollock of Pollock somethings.
Yeah. She was basically like, Maggie was basically like, get it, girl, come on. My God, she is pregnant right now, trying to open a restaurant. She's got a lot going on. I don't think it's get it, girl time for this.
I know. I feel like the whole, she's pregnant and is still wearing she tells Andrew early on that her husband's dead, and he's like, my wife's dead. And it's like, oh boy, well, here we go, I guess. Mm-hmm. We're off to the races.
Yeah, ooh, that's hot.
But it's like, yeah, the fact that she's pregnant does put sort of like a little bit of a weirdo cloud over the whole thing. Because it's like, he doesn't even skip a beat about that.
Well, yeah. He doesn't.
And he's like he has no reason to help her except that it's like, it's funny that we met at a gas station and I thought you were cute. Now here you are, and you remind me of myself when I was starting my restaurants. But it's like, what Gary approaches him is basically like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, yeah, Gary, why is he doing this? And he has no answer. And
to tie in with what Maggie said to Gary at some point, because Gary is being extra motherly and taking care of everybody and trying to, and she basically says something to the effect of, this isn't how you're supposed to be. You're the cynical one. And that's and that makes sense, because when you have a friend who's not acting like themselves, even if they're being nice, it is uncomfortable. When you think of a friend, I can think of specific friends of mine who, when they're being too nice to me, I think, what's happening here? You're lying about something. Something's going on. So I think there's that. And after she says that, Gary is skeptical about this guy, calls him out on it, and it's Gary being a good friend, actually. That is a good purpose of Gary.
I know. I kept going back and forth on the Maggie thing, because it's like, yes, what you're saying is 100% true, because your friend can be...
I'm Carson Daly.
I'm Carson Daly. Here's a band talking about
Ladies and gentlemen,
themselves.
Hoobastank.
It's 2 a.m. I'm Carson Daly. That show's actually pretty good. I enjoyed the interviews.
Good. This is Filter. Can't remember.
Yes. Okay, there we go. Thank goodness, our musical break.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's weird when your friends act weird, even if they're being technically nice, and you can tell, and it's weird to call them out, and you should. But it's also like, she's like, you're worrying too much. She says you should be the cynical one. But like, Gary, since the beginning of the show, is always helping out friends and worrying about them. Like, that is 100% his thing. And maybe it was different before we showed up to watch what they were up to, but it's like, that's literally the whole thing. He'll make sarcastic jokes, but he is always, he's the one that's always in the background. Like, he was in the kitchen just hanging out when Delilah was like reading their dad's suicide note to her kids. It's like, he's there for everyone all the time. That's his thing.
Yeah, he's freaking out about being supportive all the time, and he can't stop. And that's true. Maybe when we're not watching the show, all that's happening is Gary's being sarcastic and not caring, and Eddie's actually being in a fucking band that tours anywhere outside of Massachusetts. I doubt it, but yeah.
Yes, exactly. And then at the very end, when Delilah calls him out on it, he says, I can't lose her. Meaning, basically, he's trying to control everybody because he can't control what happens with Maggie's cancer. So it's like, what can I control? I'll help out my other friends with things that are helpable, as opposed to cancer, which he can't do a whole lot about besides, make her get the treatment. So
yeah.
Yeah, so everybody's like right and wrong on this one, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think we can just... Dave, go ahead, Dave.
Really quick, I wanted to piggyback. I wrote down that same line, Jamie, about I cannot lose her. This is Gary. This is the same guy who early in the episode was trying to push sex on Eddie. So this is his character. Like he goes through both. He goes from one spectrum to the other. That's why we love him.
Yeah, I did write down Gary in this episode. Gary does not fuck. We do like to keep a counter of that. I think we're at probably 10 out of 13 episodes. Gary fucks, maybe.
It's starting to slow down, but his lady does have cancer, so maybe that has to do with it.
True that. Maybe in the off season we'll really crunch the stats and see. Have a statistical episode. How many episodes does Gary fuck in? How many episodes is Eddie the Wiener? Spoiler: all of them plus one. And
he's trying to facilitate the fucking.
He's a little thirsty for everyone else.
He really
fucking,
is. That was too much.
Is a little weird, and also it's weird to be thinking, Eddie hasn't gotten laid in a while. You know what? Eddie's gotten laid plenty. Actually, when Eddie gets laid, it's a problem for everybody. Yeah,
maybe Eddie should try not getting laid for a while.
And it's been it's been a couple months. I mean, let's how far into the pregnancy is Delilah? It's that much. Maximum in terms of time without banging. 6 months, that's fine for him. He should take 6 months off banging.
Yeah, and it ain't 6 months yet. That might just be what she looks like when she's 6 months pregnant.
Probably.
Oh. Yeah. Looks like 3 or 4 to me. Also, I don't know anything about pregnancy.
No, me neither.
Don't at me.
But Gary's horny for everybody else. He's worried about Eddie having sex, and he's trying to... He says something like, we should come up for a sign when women want to bone you. Oh, I have a sign when they're married to your best friend. That's when they want to have sex with Eddie. There we go.
Thank you, Eddie's entire arc this episode is that he comes back from his fake tour, and Gary tells him to bang more, and he's like, no. And then there's an inexplicably young and hot PI that Gary has hired to find out who Barbara Morgan is.
Possibly the most hilarious character.
It's pretty hilarious.
Go ahead.
Who is also inexplicably a Red Ferns fan and has somehow seen them in concert, which is impossible because they do not do concerts. I mean, there's no way they ever get off that bus.
Yeah.
But
I like that she said, I saw you in Hartford. Like, they live in Boston, and she traveled to Hartford, which is 2 hours. By the way, if you want to see me perform, I'll be in Connecticut this weekend. I'm at Fairfield Comedy Club on Friday, and then in Hartford on Saturday. I know where Hartford is. It's 2 hours from Boston. It's hilarious that she would think, oh, I got to go see the Red Ferns, who live in my hometown. I'll go 2 hours south, though, I guess.
Yeah, it's very weird. But anyway, so they smooch on a couch, and then they start on the road to banging, and then Eddie is uncomfortable, says his life is complicated. She's like, great. And then later Eddie's washing dishes at the restaurant opening. That's it.
Well, just when the inexplicably hot private eye. I mean, let me poll the room here. Has anyone met a private eye?
Not that I know of.
I guess if they're very good, maybe you wouldn't. Dave, I feel like you might have come across a private eye.
I've met a detective. I mean, that's not the same thing. But
sure.
It's not far off. I have met a detective.
Okay, yeah. My uncle was the NYPD chief of detectives until pretty recently, and weirdly, he was cool. I mean, he still is cool. He's alive. He's just doesn't have that job, but he was good. When you think of PI, I've never met a private eye. I'm not convinced they actually exist in real life.
Don't you have to be like at least 50?
You got to be 50. You got to be a man who is either you're either a divorced alcoholic or like fat, but wearing a suit that doesn't fit. That's all I know from movies. Private eyes might be the most overrepresented job in media.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kevin, it's 2019. Hot girls can be private eyes.
Jesus,
Deal with it.
Friggin' guess so. It's such a...
P.S.
Yeah.
Veronica Mars, case closed.
That's true. This should be storyline Veronica Mars. This should be adult Veronica Mars. Then I would get on board.
Well, the main problem with this is, they only wrote in a private eye character that is on screen so that she can bang Eddie.
Yes.
If this had been a private eye that was only going to be here for an episode, they wouldn't have been hanging out in the apartment, and it would have been an old, gross dude that they make jokes about how creepy that person is, probably.
Private Eye's not passing the Bechdel test. And this Private Eye also isn't private eyeing at all. Just fucking hanging out at the house. Go discover something.
Phone calls.
I know she's like her company called her, and it's just like, well, now I feel like Private Eye is the wrong term. I feel like this is like an investigation firm, because it's like her people called her. She's not like crouched in an alley taking photos of
she could be a fucking
Jessica
journalist.
Rabbit and Roger Rabbit playing patty cake.
Yeah. Exactly.
Is my reference for Private Eyes, I guess.
But what's that, Dave? Say it again.
I'm adding Kristen Bell, Veronica Mars on Instagram.
That's a great call.
Hell yes.
The Good Place is the best thing on television, by the way. I mean, we're happy you're watching this. You can love more than one thing on television. But
we're Netflixing you right now. Hey, if you like this, you might.
Mm-hmm, yeah, exactly.
Like The Good Place or Veronica Mars.
But this Private Eye, this inexplicably hot Private Eye, who is a super fan of Eddie's and just happened to be there, and is such a bad Private Eye she didn't know Eddie was going to be there already, and such a bad Private Eye she couldn't look up a Boston date for the band she liked.
Damn.
She said,
somebody tell Joanna to stop, drop, and roll, because she's getting burned.
You burned, you basic. Maybe the worst line spoken on this show. Jamie knows where I'm going. Dave might know where I'm going. He cuts off the makeout. And Jamie, you know how I feel about when people are going to do it on television and then they don't.
Kevin hates it when you ruin the doing it.
When you ruin the doing it, I get furious. Everybody just do it.
If you want Kevin to throw down whatever he's holding while he's watching something on the couch,
just
and go, and say that.
Yeah. And I'm not even being a Gare Bear about it. I'm not telling them to fuck before him. But if you're, whatever, have fun out there, guys. This Private Eye says, you don't have to be an investigator to know you're on the rebound. What fucking show are we at? Are we in a cartoon now that we're doing?
I know.
Oh my God!
Again,
you are not an investigator if you say that.
Yeah. Again, this lady could have been a believable Private Eye, but not the way this was written.
You never refer to your own job like that. It's a vague point that I feel strongly. I have never been in a situation. I'm a comedian by day when comedians are not hired. But my job is I'm a comedian. I've never, I don't think, been in a situation with someone where I've seriously been like, you don't have to be a comedian to know that's funny. Or something like that. It's just like, what the fuck? Dave's never been watching a sports game and been like, as a professional sports writer, blah, 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 whatever,
No,
I know that's a football.
I'm going to start, though.
Yeah. You start it?
I'm gonna start doing that.
How would you do it?
You don't have to be a person who's mostly unemployed to know that that doesn't pay well. I don't know. Okay.
That's funny. You're not mostly unemployed though. You big liar.
Well.
You're in the business, even if you're not allowed to talk about it. Jamie's a private investigator. Shocking. All right. So I think that's most of the. Rome had the little thing with pills. Only a couple lines addressed it.
It was one check-in with Maggie where she's like, how you doing? And he's like, nope, I want to be myself, no pills. And then she checks in again later, and he's like, yep, actually, pills would be good.
Yeah, but I get it. I'm not a person who's on pills besides plug Propecia. Not even Propecia anymore. I'm on the generic Proscar. It's way cheaper.
Yes, sponsor.
I would love to be sponsored by Proscar. I'm going to send Proscar this podcast.
Let's email Proscar and Taco Bell and see what we can do.
My hair's good. So,
it's true.
So it's a don't go bald medicine, everybody.
He could be in
an
ad.
Wait for when we're on YouTube.
What's that?
Wait for when we do. We're on YouTube now, but wait for when we do like the video.
Oh yeah, I know. We do need to start putting actual videos up. You can listen to this podcast on YouTube. It automatically publishes. There's no video to it, but you could just like put it on your browser that way. I guess if you want, that is a thing.
That's fun.
But yeah, I thought Rome did a good job. That is a weird conflict where these pills make you better, but also then you feel am I really me? You know, that must be confusing. I mean, I felt that way about booze. You know, I like it. I'm
not feeling quite like yourself is weird.
Yeah.
That's not. Yeah, I get where he's coming from. But then at the end of the day, if you're going to kill yourself, I guess maybe pills are the better option.
Yeah, definitely. That is the better way to go.
Yeah.
So let's get Barbara Morgan stuff, or do you have anything before that, Jamie?
No, the thing we open up on is Gary going to a house that says Nelson by the doorbell.
What if the cartoon Nelson from The Simpsons opened it?
That's what I wrote down.
Oh, look at that.
He's going to be like, is Barbara Morgan here? And he'd be like, uh-huh.
It's like he's in the room. Please don't solve a mystery. I am full of chocolate.
No, that's the other one.
What is that? That's not Nelson. Oh, yeah, that's not Nelson.
Nelson's the shitty kid.
But isn't Nelson chasing him with the towel when that happens?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Anywho, it wasn't. Spoiler alert. No one from The Simpsons was there, but someone from The Sopranos was.
Someone from The Sopranos was there, and I'm currently binging The Sopranos on my own. Many married couples and couples in general, I'm sure you have shows that you watch together, you have shows you watch separately. It's always nice to have one of each going on. Mm-hmm. So I'm binging The Sopranos on my own right now.
Mine is Legacies. The spin-off of Vampire Diaries.
Hell yeah. Dave, are you a Vampire Diaries guy?
I saw first season, and then after that, I just kind of, life got in the way.
But life gets in the way. That's perfect.
Fair.
But Drea Di Matteo is the person who answers the door.
And she was not being aggressively Italian, which threw me off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she wasn't wearing 4 square inches of clothing and being very sweet and Italian, which is basically what she's doing in The Sopranos. She's great in The Sopranos, and she'll probably be good in this. This is what I would like to call the Law and Order theory, the Law and Order rule,
yes.
Where Law and Order is kind of my comfort food. If I'm hungover, I'm just ordering Indian food, and I'm lying in bed all day watching Law and Order reruns. The original, when it's both Orbach, I need Orbach involved, I need Waterston involved, otherwise get the fuck off my plate. But but the Law and Order rule, and it's mainly with SVU, is if a famous person shows up to play a role, guess what? They did it. They're not just going to show up for a second and be gone. The closest thing was Constance Zimmer showed up, and then she did resurface later, but
a fake out, though.
Kind of a fake out. But Drea Di Matteo, she's not just answering the door and leaving. You know when she answers the door, she is being hella low-key sneaky. And, she's involved in this Morgan mystery more than she's letting on.
Yeah,
even before she says the thing right before they go to credits.
Yes. According to Gary, she goes there and she says, oh, yeah, someone was here and talked to my husband about John. Do you know why he killed himself? So she, knows some stuff. It seems like Ashley was there and talked to her, but
right.
It's like, oh, no, we've been here a couple years. She's not here, and Gary goes away. So as far as he can tell, Drea Di Matteo's not coming back. But she's definitely coming back. And then Gary leaves. A man that we don't see, only his, legs, is like, what's up? And she's like, don't worry about it. And then we cut to the rest of the episode. It's like, she says Mitch. The guy's name is Mitch. Mitch is definitely John's twin, is what I'm calling.
You think Mitch is going to be... It's going to be Ron Livingston?
Yes.
Wow, that's a twist. That can count as your conspiracy theory for
that
this.
That is 100% my conspiracy theory.
That's a pretty good one.
We just see legs. It's like, don't worry about it, Mitch.
He's fucking Muppet Babiesing us. He's the nanny, where you only see the legs. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know. Striped stockings, bro.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and then we don't see any more of that till the very end, where... Oh, by the way, the very ending thing is the whole gang's there at the restaurant opening. They all have jobs.
It's very Saved by the Bell. It's just so fake, where everyone does a job. You can't be a waiter without knowing what you're doing. That doesn't work.
Yeah, Gary's just like, why am I a waiter? And Eddie's like, why am I washing dishes? It's like, great question, you guys.
That's the only thing that fits.
What's that?
That's the only thing that fits is Eddie washing dishes.
Yeah,
Yes.
right. They found a good place for him.
That
Put the
makes-
wiener on the dishes.
Makes 100% sense. Yes. Gary
Yeah.
being a waiter is just like, dude, I don't know. Great question.
No, he would not. Yeah, although you can tell what they think about waiters on the show because the other waiter that we saw was just like a bitch, like a male bitch.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
was just like totally a dickhead for no reason. Like didn't do the job. Was just like mouthy, and
Yeah.
they're like, we love him.
Hey, Gary, you're an asshole. Go out there and give some people some food.
Yeah.
And then and Regina gets a moment to actually soak it in and gets a round of applause, which I could feel coming, and I was getting tense about it, and then
Jamie
it
was
happened.
wincing.
And it's like, I don't like this.
No.
It's so weird. Why can't she just have a quiet moment where she watches her friends serve food to an entire
would've been-
restaurant of people?
I think that would have thoroughly been better.
Yeah.
If she could just watch, because I mean, I don't know. Maybe there is a little bit of, in modern kind of pop culture, but basically where chefs like being superstars and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't think
That's
that's
not
what
her.
she wants.
No, because she wasn't even thinking about going out there. She was just
Right.
trying to get the food made and make the night good. So.
But you know who told her to get out there? I don't know if it's technically her sous chef, but basically her number 2 in command lady who should own this restaurant. Because she was the one just looking at weird handwriting that Gina left behind to be like, here's all the food. And she was making all the food in Gina's absence while Gina was going through some stuff. And then she said, I got it.
Yeah.
You go out there and take a look. It should be that lady's restaurant. She should have it.
Well, maybe it will be someday.
Yeah.
Or maybe she'll leave it to the ghost of her 12-year-old self who shows up at the restaurant. Did anyone else catch this when she's walking?
Yeah.
I caught it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just was going to let it sit out there because I don't know who she is.
Yeah.
Because she was walking down the hallway in the hospital, and a girl who looks like she could be a young Regina walks past her, and it's just like, oh, yeah, that's... Of course, she sees a young girl, and this will probably make her brave for talking to the guy, because it's like, can you imagine someone doing that to this little girl? You should fuck this dude up. And then...
The daughter of Neil and Regina.
Oh man, yeah.
Oh, Christ.
God damn. It spins off into a hellish other world.
Can't wait until that's the kind of plot lines we get. It goes full soap
God,
opera.
season 14.
But yeah, and then that girl is just standing in the back, because at that point it could have been a real person. And then she's standing in the back of the restaurant while Regina's getting applauded. And I was just, the whole moment was like, holy fuck, what?
Yeah.
I didn't know it was one of those, anyway.
It was,
Made me feel weird, but fine.
I thought that was weird. Gina did a great job. The actress who plays Gina did a great job this episode. I thought that, I agree. I think the coming out to just soak in the applause and that everyone knew that was the chef. Man, we've been to a lot of restaurants that we enjoy. If the chef walked out, I wouldn't fucking know. Like Dave's given a yes point. That's fine. That's how it works. I get it. It's almost like it's like being a writer on a TV show. I wouldn't expect to walk out as the writer and be like, everybody loved me. They'd be like, what? Be like, oh, I did the thing you liked. You don't know, but
Yeah, you're not Tina Fey. Go away. We don't know who you
right.
are.
And unless you're like going back behind the people who tip the chef. You heard about these people? I mean, I feel like it's...
what's the deal with Yeah, I have heard of that, and I wouldn't know how to do it if I wanted to.
Yeah, that's the main thing. I don't even dislike the idea. I think the idea is great, but you should you should be able to have an envelope and be like, this goes to the chef. You shouldn't, I think when you go back, you're making yourself a big show off about it.
Yeah. It ain't, no.
It's about you.
Exactly. I don't have the confidence to even be like, tell the chef that I enjoyed this. Because if they even gave me the slightest indication that was weird, I'd be like, don't. I'm sorry. Don't. He doesn't care if I liked it. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm going to run away.
He did great work. Let him know. Bye.
Yeah. Peace out. But, and Delilah takes her ring off. So she is donezo with the wedding ring. That's a symbolic thing, I guess. She's also very pregnant with another man's baby.
She's pregnant with one man's
time.
baby. Her husband killed himself 3 months ago. She's ready to fuck.
Ready to fuck,
I mean, Jesus.
finally.
I've had 6 months. I've had years of my... I can't tell you anything that happened in 2014. I've had years of my life just disappear. Delilah's had everything happen 3 months. She's ready to get back out on the dating scene. Good for her.
I support it, except the fact that Andrew for sure is a creep.
Yeah, Andrew's a creep, which is too bad. But also, she pursued him. He wasn't stalking from the get-go.
This is also one of those things where it's like, there's a chance that I'm just getting a weird vibe from that person. and the storyline is not actually weird. But that's what I thought about Catherine's dude. I was like, is he too perfect? And then he was.
Kinda. I'm still sort of like, I'm not burying Catherine's hot boyfriend.
Calling it Andrew, serial killer. Boom.
Okay. All right.
And
it's
then,
all the rage now on Netflix. Every third thing is about Ted Bundy.
Hot serial killers. Get on it. Million Little Things. It's all anybody wants. And then the last thing is we see the video that John made to Barbara Morgan and Drea DiMatteo, who, I mean, listen, I don't want to call someone else Barbara Morgan who's not Barbara Morgan, but guys, she's Barbara Morgan.
She's got to be Barbara Morgan, right? Or she's mailing this to someone, right?
No,
she had opened it.
Oh.
Correct me, Jamie, did you see what I saw? I paused it, and it was addressed to her, and it was already open, and she was putting it back in. So she had opened the envelope, so she wasn't mailing it to someone.
This was mailed to Barbara Morgan, which is her.
I mean,
yes.
It's a Law and Order principle. I agree with all this.
I'm just saying yes. And then she's sort of putting away, and someone in the distance yells, "Mom," and then she has to go.
JJ.
So definitely,
yeah.
The kid is John's. She's married to his twin.
Whoa.
The end.
The end, indeed. Also, it's weird. So, I think that's it. Dave, do you have anything else from this episode before we go predictions and wrap it up?
Just wrapping that up, I just wanted to say the first thing I thought of when, we saw Nelson on the house, I thought maybe Barbara Morgan was like a pen name, like Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens.
Absolutely. There's so many ways it could be another name. Obviously, when people paint, they paint under, a different name, for sure. And exactly like you said, Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens, people write under different names than they are. Robert Galbraith is J.K. Rowling.
Also, this paintings just say B. Morgan. Maybe there's
B'Mitch
Bozo.
Morgan. Yeah. Also, oh man. So, okay. So it says Nelson on here. So you're clearly not a Morgan. I mean, there's no way that a huge percentage of women in the world change their last name, is there? She could get fucking married. It could not be Barbara Morgan. It could be Barbara Nelson.
Or maybe she never changed that thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, but go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry, did I cut you off on anything?
Oh, no, I was going to say maybe she purposely left the Nelson thing on. Maybe, Mrs. Nelson lived there years ago. Who knows?
Yeah. Oh, and the last quick thing, they find Barbara Morgan by tracking down where her art was being sold in a gallery, and they talk to the gallery guy who just gives them the address. Come on, man. And says that one person bought all of the Barbara Morgan paintings, and it was John. It's like, the fuck is that about? Who? What?
Yeah.
I can't tell if that's nice or if that's terrible. It's like, I'm an artist. Oh, great. Have you sold anything? Yes, but only to the guy who probably I have a kid with.
Right.
And the last thing I'll say, there's got to be some sort of darker thing at play, because 2 episodes ago when John and Ashley were in that apartment, he mentioned like this all started, this would have never happened had I not bought that bottle of wine. Something weird about the bottle of wine. And then in the suicide note, it was just much darker. It seems like darker than just financial problems. Right. But I'm still throwing it out there that the kid's voice is John Jr. But,
yeah, that could very well be.
100%.
Also, with the addition of the guy who is trying to possibly he put his wish out there in the world, and then he was stalked by a hot pregnant lady who wants to give him her restaurant. That guy seems like he might be around for a while. Maybe not. We only have a couple episodes left this season. But Drea DiMatteo probably going to be around for a little while, you would think, too, which leads me to think there could be a twist at the end here. We see in the teaser for next week. If you don't want to hear about the teaser for next week, shut it off right now. Follow us at A Million Little Podcast on Instagram, etc. Email us amillionlittlepodcast@gmail.com. But in the teaser, we see it seems that Catherine is in a car crash.
We see some kind of car situation, and then we see Eddie yelling, "That's my wife!"
Right. So all I'm saying is there's only so much screen time to go around. If they're adding big guest stars, if Dre DiMatteo is signed to a longer thing, they could be getting rid of someone. I would not be shocked. I would also not be shocked if Catherine, she's a good actress, Grace Park is a good, if she got picked up by another show. I wouldn't be shocked if they killed her off. I'm not saying they're going to, but that wouldn't shock me at the end of this season, especially knowing that they're picked up for a season 2. I don't think they would have killed her off if this was the end of the series, but going forward, it's possible.
That is a good call, and I would be at once very sad, but then also happy for the real person who plays Catherine.
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah, do a movie.
Yeah.
And again, I mentioned this. She was a replacement for the original Catherine in the pilot. So maybe she was like, she told her agent, like, this thing may not get picked up.
Yeah. Could have already had something lined up. Who knows? So that's my conspiracy theory, I guess. Follow us at A Million Podcast on Twitter, at A Million Little Podcast on Instagram, A Million Little Podcast at gmail.com if you think we missed anything, or if you just want to say hello. And thank you we have a bunch of ratings now. We're 5 stars on the ratings. We got reviews, and we've if you write a review and if it pops up on iTunes, I think it only shows a certain amount. But if we see a new one, we'll read it off here like we did last week. And thanks for those ratings and reviews. And as Dave texted me when all this went down, by all this I mean when the show was picked up again for a second season, he said we broke the news. I'm trying to pull up the text right here. He said, new goal. Having news like today's actually positively affect our bank account so we can celebrate in true fashion, which is true because this show getting picked up means we lose $15 a month for a longer amount of time. That's what it costs to podcast, basically. But, if we really blow up going into season 2, maybe we'll get a Patreon going. Jamie, go ahead. You're pulling up reviews?
Yeah, I was just looking to see reviews. I haven't linked them yet.
This is really nice. These are more reviews than I thought we had. Okay, let's go. Okay, never mind. I did see that already. I really turned the corner on that one.
Jeez Louise,
Huh?
what a twist!
Yeah, I thought I hadn't read that one, but
that was the Catherine getting killed off of podcast twist at the end.
They're all good, though.
Forget it.
Yeah. We
haven't screened these yet. I was just looking, but we'll get to it.
There's one that says, "I can honestly say this, no BS. This is the TV podcast I am most invested in." That's very nice.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. That is nice.
That is the podcast review I'm most invested in.
There we go.
Right back at you.
I'm Kevin McCaffrey. That's Dave Miller in Chicago. Jamie McCaffrey is here. Dave, anything else on our way out?
No, just looking forward to finishing up the podcast and this season strong. I'm excited about season 2, and thanks to everyone who's listened.
Hell yeah. February 28th will be the last one. Just a couple weeks left.
Very exciting. Lots of twists. Come in, little bye.